Yeah. It was neck and neck. I saw Titus, who won EP, was there, but last man standing really works. How do you feel, and what was your toughest obstacle?
I reckon the tyres at the back there were probably my toughest obstacle. This track today definitely tested bike and body, so happy to come out on top.
And how's the body feeling?
I'm pretty tired, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, it was really just tough, suffered from arm pump and that.
And when you lined up here this morning, did you really believe that you could win it?
There were a lot of tough competitors today, and I had my mind right, and I think, yeah, I just came out on top.
So besides all your fans of your mum and dad and everybody, your mother was hysterical. She was ridiculous. I mean, who else did you need to thank to make this happen?
I'd like to thank Bikers Warehouse Husqvarna for always sorting me out, my pits and everything. My bike ran superb. Fury Ford Fourways for always sorting us out. My mom, my dad, and all my friends, and the Viking squad.
And I think your mom's going to need to go to hospital. She's a nervous wreck. But well done, Matthew. Fantastic. Ice winner.
Penalty against you, and the rider with the least amount of penalties at the end of the day is the winner. So as you can see, everything about balance in the sport. We spend hours and hours standing on the foot pegs, over 10,000 hours spent on the pegs to be able to balance the bike like this, and that's about a minute by now. I'll switch the engine off. A lot of people say I'm cheating with the engine on, but as you can see, no difference whatsoever whether the engine's on or off. This is years and years of training to be able to balance the bike. I'm going to ask a pretty stupid question. Anybody in the crowd seen the sports on TV before? Pretty dumb question. What I'm going to do is get a bit of crowd participation. Anybody in the crowd want to come and try and balance the bike? It's not to embarrass you. It's just to show you it's not as easy as what it looks on TV. Everybody wants to come give it a go. There you go, but come. There's one. Anyone else? Come on. Two. Oh, that's always good when he's got a beer in his hand. There we go. Beer normally helps. That's good for the balance. Come stand up here. What about a lady? Normally ladies are better than the guys. Any ladies want to try? Come on, one lady. Come on, any ladies want to try? You're not a lady, but come on. Any ladies? There's a lady. Come on. Come out, please, ma'am. There we go. Let's give her a big round of applause. Mr. DJ, just a little bit of music in the background, please, bud. All right, here we go. Let's see what these...
Yeah, guys, this is what ice is all about. Heaps of action, piping hot to my right, concrete cars to my left, another 10 obstacles behind me. It's going to be the biggest event that Josie and Alberton have ever seen as far as motorsports. It's the second time that ice has become a two-day event. First time in PE, we're prologue, where you have to qualify to be a pro, you have to qualify to be a support, and also a junior.
Hi everyone, we're here at Inner City Enduro Round 2. I'm here with Rowan Jones, the boss from Compendium. We're in their lovely suite. Yeah, Rowan, how did you guys find out about the events and how are you guys involved as sponsors?
In fact, I first heard about the events in PE. My guy runs a PE branch, ended up going and actually watching the events in PE. So that was kind of our first understanding of it. Obviously, I've watched it overseas and thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'm so glad you guys have now done it up here in Joburg. Fantastic. And we definitely are a sponsor. We're a sponsor for here and for PE and for next year.
Couldn't believe at 900 meters could take its toll. Behind me, the Red Bull Arch started. We went into massive motor log jam. We went into concrete chaos over here, which was epic. Piping hot by Compendium, all the way down free fall. And then you turn left into a tyre pit that is just killing the guys, called tyre torture. Then it's gangplank, you lose it, and you go down into the logs. Then it's whoop-de-doo, which is really becoming whooped out. They're down into the Yamaha riverbed section, riverbed road here, and there's a climb that is just killing the guys. It's getting deeper and deeper, but there's a chicken line, and from there on, you're down to a rock garden, into the skip bins, over a last log, and into the Red Bull Arch. Sounds easy, it's only 900 meters, but the boys are dying.
Hi everyone, we're here with Francois at the Inner City Enduro Round 2. Francois has just completed the first round of the support qualifying. Yeah, Francois, how was it out there? How are you finding the track? And is this your first ice event, by the way?
Yeah, it's my first one. Just tight and traction, a little bit slippery and stuff, but very awesome.
And there's a couple of jumps in the beginning there where you kind of like land and you're going straight into obstacles. How did you find that? And
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed tight.
How's it, everyone? So we're here with Saki Martins and Noah Martins. Saki Martins, obviously the father, Noah Martins, obviously his son. Noah's competing in our support category. Yeah, Saki, how did you guys find out about the events, and how are you thinking that the ice is evolving into more of a national series?
Sure, we've been racing for a few years, but every time we couldn't get to PE because of school commitments. And the beauty about this ice event is school holidays and school starts on Tuesday. When I asked Noah, would you like to race? He said, yes, please. No, didn't think twice about it.
Get started, I've got to mention one thing, is that this whole show revolves on crowd participation. So seriously, the more noise you guys make, the better the show gets. So Inner City Enduro, let's put those hands together. Here we go.
People out there, and we're at the halfway marker of the day and day number 2 of the event. After Brian Capper has done his stunt show and he's putting on an incredible show, everyone's trying to take their breath and catch themselves up as we go forward into the first of the pro events. Coming out of yesterday's prologue and qualifier, Scott Burberry was fastest with Heinrich Aust running second place. Warwick Neve moved up out of support class into the pros with William Oosthuizen in fourth, Luke Walker in fifth, and Carl Flanagan, a former podium finisher at the ICE event, down in sixth place. Brett Swanepoel, Stefan van Dementer and Vincent Labuskakny, another one of the standout riders coming out of support category into the pros. Rob Garvey also did a good enough job yesterday in support class to move up into the pro category to join Brendan Smith. Reinhard Kritzinger, Troy Sullivan takes his first gate on the pros alongside Mehring. Unfortunately, Mehring's going to be a no-show. Unfortunately, an injury to his knee yesterday, sending him out of the gate. Matt Green is going to be a lastminute.com along with Sharon Moore and Dwayne Clannams, who join the back of the queue. The rest of the guys, though, have been out there and qualified. The morning session has been all about qualifying for our support class races. So we've come down to the top 10 in support. That happened just before the lunchtime break where Brian's putting on the show. And we just wrapped up shop with our junior category as well, where we crowned a brand new champion. Incredible running times, and our juniors, only the third time we've been racing with the juniors here at ICE, putting on a cracker of a show. The obstacles that all of the pros have to race, we went from 12 juniors all the way down to the top 6, and we just raced our way into the main event. The main event was Matt Battersby. We also had Luca Van Sale and Zach Gulliver, and it was Matt Battersby who walks away with his first win at ICE, knocking out the former champion and reigning champion from round number 1, Titus Iverson, down to 4th place. Iverson, in a big shake-up, did not make the main gate, didn't get himself into the top 3 qualifiers. So Brian Capper putting on a show for the crowd, the multiple South African trials champion as well as Supermoto champion, just getting up close and personal with the crowds as he likes to do. And then the afternoon session is going to look like this. Straight out of Brian, we go into Pro Heat number 1, where we trim back from 22 riders into just 8. That means it's going to be nice and wild and gnarly. We've seen the track does race quite nicely as well. We'll also go into Heat number 2 for our support category, where we'll go down to our final 3. Then it's Pro Heat number 2, looking for our final 3. Then we go into our main events, which will be our final 3 riders out of the support class and our final 3 riders for pros. On the pro gate, it's going to be a big question mark. The other unknown factor is the fact that we have World Extreme Super Series racer and world-renowned extreme rider Billy Bolt in the house. Billy was brought across as a bit of an initiative to put some star flavor into this event, but also he was out here meeting and greeting some of our South African riders and putting on a couple of learning and riding clinics. Day one was fine. Unfortunately, he succumbed to some of the cold weather up here in Johannesburg and picked up a nasty bout of bronchitis. So he was a no-show for day number 2 of the training. He was also a no-show for yesterday. So he didn't actually put a clock time down to get his number time on the gate. He's still going to be trying to line up on the pro gate. He went out and did around about 4 laps this morning to see if he had enough gas in the tank to be able to breathe. And even when he was sick, he was throwing down some of the fastest lap times out of all the entire pro gate. But it's still a question mark to see if we're actually going to see Billy Bolt, the number 57 Rockstar Husqvarna rider, on the pro gate. We'll find that out in the next 10 minutes or so, as soon as Brian has wrapped up shop. For now, it's been an incredible journey here at ICE 2019 for round number 2. And the first time we've been racing in Joburg has certainly given us some great action, some good names to talk about in the future, as well as the fact that the crowds have been pumping in here by their thousands. Yesterday was National Motocross, just a couple of Ks down the road at Dirt Broncos on the other side of Krugersdorp. So I think everyone got their taste for dirt watching the motocross and have headed down the hill to Alberton here to Fast KTM to check out the action that is going down here in the sandpit. The big difference for this second round of ICE is the fact that we're racing predominantly on dirt. And there's quite a lot of tarmac at the PE round of the event. So that's been a big change up for us. It looks like Brian is just coming to the end of his stunt show, and we're going to see a big round of applause. Brian often ends with a bit of a big flurry here, so we're expecting to see some nice stuff happening down here. And as we said, the morning session all about us getting us down to the top 6 for our juniors. And we just had their final before Brian's show, and also getting us ready as we go forward. We've got our top 10 places in the support category. They're going to be chasing down after the pros to see who can make it into the top 3, and it'll be last man standing. The exciting thing for us here for ICE is the fact that the champion from round number 1 on the pro gate, which was Wade Young, is a no-show. So we're going to crown a new champion no matter what. Also, previous winner Blake Goodsight from the 2018 event is a no-show. He's racing other events across the pond. So I think this is going to be a great opportunity for all the rest of the riders to see if they can crown themselves ICE champion. On paper, looks like Carl Flanagan should be a standout favourite, but he wasn't able to throw down a very good time yesterday, only qualifying outside the top 4. Scott Burberry going fastest out of the time practice yesterday, setting himself up as the pre-race favourite. And also on the support category, it was Graham Hedgecock who actually went fastest and took the most wins in the support category down at Port Elizabeth. He's a no-show as well, so we're going to see a brand new support class champion. Previous rounds were Dale Stock walking away with the support class win at the previous event in 2018. And then the opening round of ICE just a couple of months ago down in Port Elizabeth was the father of Tristan Hedgecock, Graham Hedgecock, who showed his technical prowess walking away with the big gold plates. So we're going to see a brand new champion. We've already seen a brand new champion in Matt Battersby coming out of the junior gates. We're going to see a brand new pro and brand new support class champion as well. We hope you guys will join us. If you're not down here on the dirt with us, we hope you guys will hang out with us on the world of the internet as we bring you all the action for the afternoon session here at the round number 2 of ICE. Round number 3 is on the cards for either Cape Town or Durban show. So watch the press for that, and as soon as we can give you that information, we'll feed you that info and let you know what's going to be going down. For now, the crowd just absolutely loving the show. We've seen some incredible racing the whole way through the day. Right now, we're just going to enjoy the tail end of Brian Kappa's stunt show and get ourselves ready. And I'll also catch my breath a little bit as we go forward into pros. That's going to be next on the cards.
Run up over here. Let's see if we can launch up and over all of them. Watch the timing. Here we go. Let's hear it in the city Enduro. Come on. All right, we should probably call it a day there. Let's give them all a big round of applause. You guys are crazy. Well done, buddy. You're crazy. Can any of my mates over here just help me pull this over here, please, bud? All right, here we go. We're going to jump up some of the bigger jumps. No. If I jump over you, I'm probably going to land on you now. Why don't you just put that mat for me over there? Do you want me to jump over you? Do you want me to? Okay, lie down. Here we go. This is a new one. I don't often do this one, but you guys are going to love this one. Legs flat. Here we go. Nice and smooth. Whoops. Got a little bit of wheel spin there. This is a big one. Here we go. Let's do it. Come on. Let's give him a big round of applause. Shot, brother. Why don't you just put that over there for me? What a good sport. All right, here we go. Just watch out here, guys. Let's have some fun. This is where the fun starts happening. Inner City Enduro, we're having a good time. All right. Let's have some fun. We're going to jump up some of the bigger jumps. Listen up. What we're going to do is hit this kicker at the back end of the ramp over here onto the customized box. But instead of stopping, I'm going to keep it on the back wheel from the wheelie, bunny hop onto the top, and wheelie all the way down the landing. In other words, the front wheel won't touch the trailer from the time we reeve the back till we get to the sand on the other side. Who wants to see that? All right, here we go. Second gear. Watch the timing. Watch the bike flip all the way backwards. And on the back wheel all the way across. Here we go. Let's hear it. Come on. All right. All right, here we go. Next up, we've got this 70-degree angle ramp. It's actually a ladder. When you see the bike up against it, the natural tendency for the bike is to want to loop up and over my head. So watch the bike. And the first thing I've got to do is get my body weight forward. But of course, not too far forward, otherwise we won't get the traction on the back wheel. If you've got your cameras, this is the shot you want. And please upload it to Instagram or Facebook at Brian Kappa. But watch the twist. I'll twist my hips as I hit the ramp, and the bike will launch at 90 degrees in the air. Hopefully we'll go all the way around, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. Here we go. Let's hear it. Come on, Inner City Enduro. All right, but what goes up must come back down. So we're going to put the bike on the back wheel and go down the face of this landing on the back wheel, nice and controlled. Hopefully stop before getting to the crowd. Who wants to see this? Here we go. Come on. All right. I absolutely love riding in front of the motorcycle fraternity. These are the guys that really understand how difficult this is. You can stand there. It doesn't matter. You can stand wherever you need to. All right. Next up, we're going to hit this Red Bull kick over here. Try and jump onto that customized box. Third gear, wide open on the accelerator. And hopefully we land on that little bit of aluminium tread plate. Nice and smooth. All right. All right, now from the top, from the Motul Bikers Warehouse box down onto that Red Bull kicker. Second gear, watch the timing. Yeah, I would actually take a step back if I was you guys. With the sand, it's a little bit unpredictable. Slippery tires. All the way down. Here we go, let's hear it, come on! All right, but who wants to see if we can go back up? All right, off the Red Bull kicker. All the way onto the top of that Motul box. Third gear, wide open on the accelerator. Of course, everything about timing. Very, very short run up over here, especially on sand. Tell me if I can come back a little bit more, guys. Can I come back a bit more? Here we go. Watch the bike flip backwards completely. And hopefully we stop before hitting that Mercedes-Benz E-Strand box. Who wants to see this? Come on, here we go. One more. One more. Or do you want to see the big one? All right, let's see if we can jump all the way onto the top. 3.2 meters up in the air. all the way up. Off the kicker down the bottom. And only one bike length's distance to stop on top. Watch the timing. If I look nervous for this one, it's because I am. Even after all these years, it's still the most scary part of the show for me. Make sure we're in third gear. Mr. DJ, a little bit of music there, please, brother. Here we go, let's hear it, come on! All right, and off the top, down onto that bottom ramp. You guys have been an awesome crowd. Let's hear it one more time, come on! Inner City Enduro, thank you very much. I didn't get the run up I wanted. Should we do that one more time? A little bit difficult on the sand over here. Let's try that one more time. Let's hear it one more time, come on! Thank you very much. Of course, a huge thanks to Mark Glover. I think he's put on an unbelievable event. You guys are getting for the best racing possible. Of course, a huge thanks to all my sponsors, Motul, Mercedes-Benz, Bikers Warehouse, Red Bull. You guys have been awesome. Thank you very much.
To the pro events. These are some of the highlights from our juniors. We started with 12 juniors and they had to make their way through into the top 6. The big features for the kids to go through. The first feature out of the Red Bull Arch into the motor log jam, and it was a log jam that cost a lot of people a lot of time. Straight out of that into the CDI Brokers Concrete Chaos and Compendium Piping Hot. The Red Cherry Freefall was an area where everyone wanted to get to. If you could arrive there in good nick, you were going to be in good shape. The juniors then, like I said, had to come out of 12 down all the way to 6. We trimmed one rider at the back of every single lap, and some riders were starting to set themselves up as pre-event favorites. Matt Battersby took more heat wins than any other rider to make his way through. One of the big stories was Titus Iverson, a former champion, in fact reigning champion from the previous round, really battled in the afternoon sessions. Zaybrandt, the rider out of the Drumas Yamaha squad from KTM, He was surviving, but as it got into the thick end of the wedge, he really battled to find his qualifying spots. In the early days, he did make it through, though, into the top 6. The obstacles gave us some of the stories to talk about as well. The small wheels really battled to find their way up and over, certainly the finish lines. And by this stage of the day, after a full day of practice and qualifying, little arms, little bodies and little bikes were starting to get super tired. The format of trimming the last rider standing was starting to get brutal as one by one the riders fell. Zach Gulliver had been pretty quiet through the morning session, but he was finding his way inside the top 6. Even though he also was starting to make small mistakes, he had enough gaps and time in hand to still find his seat at the office. Some of the early fallers and early crashes. Young Kobus Bester unfortunately falling out and not making the gate inside the top 6. He stayed in the show while the racing was still hot and heavy, but it was the cream that was starting to rise to the top. Titus Iverson was the fastest qualifier from yesterday, and he started to show his form, with Luca Van Sale, Gulliver and Matt Battersby showing themselves up as their closest rivals. One of the big stories was the smallest rider out there on the big wheels, and that was little Luke Walker. Even though he also was making mistakes more often than not, he'd be able to pick himself up and fight his way through the traffic to get into a qualifying spot. After an early bobble, though, Titus Iverson was still setting himself up, and it was between him and Matt Battersby who threw down the fastest laps throughout the day to make their way inside of the top 6. Iverson looked like a standout pre-race favourite, certainly going into the top 6. Through the course of yesterday, through practice and qualifying, the junior loop was trimmed back. The second half of the compendium, piping hot, was trimmed out so they could skirt around the outside to just keep a little bit of better flow. Just too much of a challenge for the smaller bikes. And also the second half of the big climb that was the key feature, the Mast Mania. Down in the bottom of the valleys as well, for the first time using a little bit of natural terrain. Ice dropped down into the Yamaha river crossing. Elru van der Westhuizen did a sterling job in the late stages to make his way through into the qualifiers. And he would unfortunately go on to be one of our final riders trimmed just out of the top 6. His good buddy and pal, Kobus Bester, also started to find his way and dropping outside of the gates that would make it forward. For the junior riders, one by one were starting to become brutal, though, in the morning session, as little arms and little legs were starting to get super tired. The track was holding up nicely, though, and Luca Van Sale was starting to put his name on the box as one of the big threats going forward. More often than not, he was starting to finish inside of the top 3 on every single one of the qualifying heats. The day had started with 12. One by one, they were starting to fall by the wayside. And still, we were looking for our top 6 to go forward. Matt Battersby looked like the only rider to take the fight in a straight-up fight to Iverson. And we're expecting to see more of this come the main event. Iverson was also doing double duties on the day. One of the younger riders that got dispensation to race in the junior category as well as the support category. So he was racing more often than not. Racing in the juniors as well as the support class. From an 85, jumping straight across, pretty much catching his breath, and then going onto the 125 category. Luca Van Sale got himself into a spot to be able to try and upset the apple cart. He took a couple of wins also on the qualifying runs to set himself up as a name. He was a previous podium finisher at the Port Elizabeth event and was no doubt going to be able to go forward and qualify. A real hard luck situation for Elru van der Westhuizen had him sent home as we started to get ourselves ready to trim back one last rider and head into the final 6. Stefan Zabrants on the Yamaha, who had been so solid the whole way through the day, with just one more qualifying run, started to crack and looked like he was going to be the final trim back before we find our magical top 6 to go forward and chase forward into the final. Iverson looked like he'd recover from his small bobbles and set himself up once again as the man to beat. The top 6 took themselves into the final then, and it was going to be one by one trim, 3 more trims until we found our top 3 going forward into the big show. Luca Van Zyl got crossed up, but managed to get onto the throttle hard enough, spin it up, and get himself back into a position before you could get into the top 6. As we went forward into the juniors, though, it was an incredible run from Matt Battersby to be crowned the brand new ICE Junior Champion. We now get ourselves ready as we look forward into the pro lineup. And it's going to be the first time we get to see all of the pros coming out here. Yesterday was all about the practice and qualifying. Today, it's going to be all about the pros heading on out there. Scotty B went fastest with Heinrich Aust, Warwick Neve, Oosthuizen and Walker inside of the top 5. And we also, even though he doesn't show up on our timing and scoring, because these were the times counted from yesterday, we've got Billy Bolt in the house. He was a no-show yesterday for practice and qualifying, but he went out this morning and turned 4 laps just to see if he could breathe, picking up a severe bout of bronchitis in the last couple of days, succumbing to the Johannesburg winter. And we will wait with bated breath. It looks like he's lined up at the top there, so it looks like he is going to take up the chase and see if he can survive on out there. So watch out for the Rockstar Husqvarna 57 of Billy Bolt. And if you guys want to watch anywhere on the track, if you're down here, the whoop section, he is on his back wheel the whole way through here and is absolutely mind-blowing to watch. As with all the rest of the categories, though, as we check out the track, it's going to be interesting because it is random draws for every single one of the gates. Doesn't matter that Scotty B was fastest, he may pull a number 20 out of the bag, and that means he's going to be lining up on the, I think, the 3rd row if he pulls a number 20. 4th row, 5 riders across, so 5 riders from 6 to 10 on row number 2, and then we move further back. So gate pick and a little bit of lady luck is definitely going to play a role here as we get ourselves ready to go racing. So we're going to go straight out of Red Bull Arch. That's going to be the start shoot. Motor Logjam, CDI Brokers, Concrete Chaos, Compendium Piping Hot, the Red Cherry Freefall, the Dunlop Tire Torture that has set up so many of the racing situations. Sun International Gangplanks will be the next thing to watch out for. And then straight after that, the Whoop-to-Doos. All right. Pros are lined up. We're getting ourselves ready to go rocking and rolling. It looks like Stefan van Deventer is on the front chutes, as well as a couple of key players, Flanny and Dueno Kleinams. This is our round 1 of our pros. We're going to have over 20 riders in the queue and trim from the back of the pack. So it's the riders that stay inside the top 6 that will be the riders to watch out for. And also, if you're inside the top 6, you can play a card later on in the day, and that is a get-out-of-jail-free situation. Flanny's popped out quite nicely up and over the Compendium Piping Hot. Dueno Kleinans, who only turned around about 3 laps this morning, is in it as well. Billy Bolt goes along with him. Garvey's there. And then one of the jump-ups starting to move out of the gates of the senior support category. We start to see a couple of other riders really absolutely charging. Apologies for the feed here. We're just setting things up. We know that the footage will get better as the racing continues. Unfortunately, the rider getting chopped up there and jammed up at the end of the logjam was Vincent Labuskakny, as Flanny, Carl Flanagan, our podium finisher from the previous round, and the man that was set up as the pre-race favorite coming into this, is running out front and hiding. So Carl Flanagan charges down. He's going to see clear air, and it's going to be our first pro. No problems for him. He moves smoothly forward as we go back into the logjam. And Motul Tire Torture playing its game once again. The last 2 riders at the moment there, looks like Sharon Moore and Vincent Labuskakny. The big kid, William Oosthuizen, comes through. Duane Kleinams has had a nice run there to get himself into the mix. Rob Garvey rolls down the hill. He's going to be in a qualifying spot. Warwick Neve, the 59, might be one to watch out for as well. As onto the gangplanks there, Sully, Troy Sullivan, moving out of the sport category in his first time out. He did a good enough run yesterday to qualify inside of a pro time, so he moves out of support class into pros. As we go back on the track, Walker's coming through. Looks like Brandon Smith, he's found his seat at the table as well. Swanee, Brett Swanepoel on his comeback trail as well. finding his seat at the table as we go back out onto the track to pick up on what is going on. Remember, it is up to the discretion of our illustrious leader to see who's going to get trimmed from the back. The pros, we expect to see 1 or 2 riders at the back get trimmed out. Kritzinger comes through alongside Heinrich Aust as we wait for our final finishes. It looked like it was Troy Sullivan that was jammed up on the track. We'll wait to see what the call is and who is safe and who goes out. All right, so as we close in on the end of lap number 1, just to remind us what the format is as Sully comes rolling over the line. It looks like it's going to be our first pro trim back. Smiling faces out front, though, for Billy Bolt and Flanny, as the rest of the riders know that they are safe as houses moving forward into the next gates. As we've seen with the junior and the support categories, though, it is going to be interesting to see how the riders are able to get through. Remember, it's random gate picks every single time we go into the queue. So if you're on the front row, you're going to have nice clear air. And it looks to me like we've got Luke Walker and Brendan Smith already taking up clear air on the front row. Should be able to squeeze 5 riders on that front row. And if you've got clear air heading into the motor log jam, you stand the best chance of running and getting good numbers going. The riders to watch out for, building pace and getting better as the race gets longer, though, as well. We'll watch Billy Bolt, Dwayne Clanhams, Sharon Moore, and Matt Green, because those are the guys that couldn't qualify yesterday. They only turned around about 3 or 4 laps this morning, so racing for them is going to be practice as they take up their positions. Looks like big kid William Oosthuizen is going to take up the front row as well as the rest of the riders move through into their slots. Watch out for Warwick Neve. Very strong rider, a good enough time yesterday out of the support class to move up into the pro gate. And he's going to line up on row number 2 alongside Flanny. Looks like Swanepoel is moving across there as well. And Stefan van Deventer. So a couple of key players have not got the luck of the draw. They're going to be lining up on rows 3 and 4 and trying to see if they can make their way through the traffic. But it's going to be super busy. Eliminators. We lost 2, Vincent Labuschagne and Sully. Troy Sullivan, unfortunately, going out in heat number 1. Remember, we're going to be chasing to get ourselves down, trimming the pack before we go forward into the next set of heats. The afternoon session is all about trimming our pros down. We started with over 20 riders. We're going to keep racing and trimming until we get down to our final 8. Flag drop, and one more time on the gas. Looks like Brendan Smith's got a great run going down the outside right-hand line, and he's going to lead out of the logjam. So a great run for Brendan Smith to stay way out of trouble, followed by Luke Walker and Oosthuizen. Swanee's out. Looks like Flanny's out. Billy Bolt's got a little bit crossed up there, so he's in a qualifier, but outside the top 5 at the moment. Swanee's out through and clean. Billy Bolt pops out there as well. He's got his chest protector on there, trying to keep himself warm. Fastest qualifier we're picking up on our live stream there. Scott Burberry sitting outside the top 5, about to make a pass on Billy Bolt as they've dropped down out of the Red Cherry freefall and start to climb the ladder. Still, the big talking point for our pros is the short run that they have from the Dunlop Tire Torture into the Sun International gangplanks. But for our pros, they tend to run good numbers through there. Brendan Smith looks like he's got clear air and will not be caught on this run. He goes through the Yamaha river crossing, and he's just got a couple more seconds, maybe 25 seconds, until he comes and takes his first heat win. The riders at the back, though, Sharon Moore and Reinhold Kritzinger in the hot seats, and Kritzinger having major problems trying to get up and over the second sector of the compendium piping hots. Dusting up now as well as Luke Walker charges his way up and over. A ton of different lines to take you up onto the top of the Mask Mania. All the riders will be just checking over their shoulders at this stage of the game to make sure they know exactly where they are. As long as you're running inside the top 10 for now, you're safe. But remember, there is that get out of jail free situation. There is a card that can be played for the pros if they are inside the top 6, but then drop out and are in a situation where they may get trimmed from the back. They can play their cards and stay in the game. Heinrich Aust, who was a big surprise package from yesterday, steps out of support. He actually went second fastest of all the qualifiers. Of course, the sport riders did run a slightly shorter version of the track, but he's still able to run himself up into second place. He is going to be desperate to try and remain in the show. As Warwick Neve steps on down, he's heading to the finish, followed by Heinrich Aust. And we are still waiting for, it looked like Kritzinger, who was just jammed up very early on in the course. Rob Garvey was another rider that did a great job to get himself up there. Matty Green still trying to find his feet. Again, he literally has not turned one lap. The first lap was the first lap that he had actually ridden, raced, or seen. So Matty will be building and getting faster as the day gets longer. He's going to try and see if he can survive. But Kritzinger is out of this one. Just cannot get through Compendium piping hot. Sharon Moore is going to be our penultimate finisher to cross the stripe. So Kritzinger and Sharon Moore look like they are out of this one. Kritzinger just trying to see the checkered flag to put a line underneath his run. He did a very good run yesterday to qualify out of his... He was entered as a support class rider, but his time gave him enough to move up into the pro ranks. But you can see he is absolutely exhausted from the mistakes that he had early on in the loop. The rest of the riders are going to be drawing their numbers and getting themselves ready for their third chase down, where once again it looks like we'll see 2 more riders. So we'll just wait for the track to get cleared before we move forward into our next pro trim back. Looks like we'll lose 2 more real big players this time around. Everyone's locked in the queue there. Billy Bolt is on the front row alongside Stefan van Deventer, Warwick Neve, Carl Flanagan on the numbers. And if they've got clear air, it's going to be a great situation. So on round 1, we lost Vinnie Labuskakny and Troy Sullivan. Round 2, we lost Sharon Moore and Reinhard Kritzinger. It's starting to get real brutal. Flanny goes to the outside, to the right-hand line as we watch it. Oh, big crash there for Stefan van Deventer. He's going to cause a big roadblock as he jammed up Flanny, Oosthuizen. He jammed up Matty Green and Warwick Neve. So all the riders are trying to find their way through. And once again, Brandon Smith has positioned himself well to go forward and sit in a qualifying spot. He's got Scotty B, Burberry, Flanny, and Kleinums coming through as well. But absolute yard sale. Swanepoel. Looks like Heinrich Aust, Luke Walker, some big players are jammed up early in the lap. So as has been the situation with almost every single running of ice that we've done, the first feature has always been sponsored by Motul, the Motul Log Jam, and so often it decides how the rest of the race is going to run. Luke Walker has been so close to a podium, trying to get himself back into the mix. It looks like Billy Bolt's just trying to pace himself at the moment. Great to have him racing. It was such a disappointment yesterday when we heard that he was ill, and we certainly didn't want him to risk his health, but feeling good enough to go out and rip the bars. And the Rockstar Racing Factory Husqvarna Pro, great to have him racing on SA soil. It looks like he's going to be a safe qualifier coming out of round number 3. Brendan Smith, once again, running great pace and good numbers to stay in the high qualifying rounds every single time. It's not just about finishing high, though. Remember, if you're early finisher, you get a little bit more time to relax, catch your breath, get rid of the arm pump, and prepare yourself for the next sprint. The fastest lap coming in from yesterday, Scott Burberry, a 1:31. Looks like the track's running a little bit faster today as well. So if you have a squeaky clean run, you can go sub 30, and those are essentially sprint laps. As Van Deventer comes through, Warwick Neve, that's Walker coming almost at the back of the pack there. So we'll have to see if Walker has done enough to make his way through, but he is dangerously close to the tail end of the field. Rob Garvey, one of the riders that made it out of support class and up into pros, comes down the hill, followed by Brett Swanepoel, so one of the factory Pepsi Plastics Husqvarna riders. Just got 2 jammed up in the log jam, and that may be the end of his day. Heinrich Aust just coming up and over the hill as well. So some big hitters, big players getting crossed up in the logjam. And as we said, the first obstacle costing a lot of key riders their drive and momentum and a chance of qualifying through. The rest of the riders just waiting to see if they've made the gate. So confirmation of Brett Swanepoel and Heinrich Aust out of this one. So the Cinderella story of Heinrich Aust, our second fastest qualifier from yesterday. The story is over. Heinrich Aust and the factory star from Pepsi Plastics, Husqvarna. It's going to be Brett Swanepoel out of the running as well. So we are brutally trimming some real key players as we start to get ourselves closer to the marker. Remember, we're going to keep racing and trimming until we get down to our final 8. After that, we'll move forward into our trim back, where we have our top 10 support riders on standby. So luck of the draw once again. Billy Bolts is going to see clear air as he lines up his first gate pick on the random draw. He'll be joined on the front row by Stefan van Deventer. Both of them choosing to stay to the very outside of the line. Luke Walker lines up third gate pick, goes right down the middle of the queue. Dwayne Kleinhams is going to join them on clear air as well as gate pick number 4, the first of the factory brother leader tread KTMs. And then Warwick Neves stays in the game as gate pick number 5. Pro's not really giving him much elbow room on the queue though. He's lined up like row 1.5. The rest of the riders then start to take up their positions. Row 2 is going to be all about Matty Green. The untouchable Brendan Smith on the Dreamers Yamaha, having one of the best runs at ice that he has had. After that, the big kid, William Oosthuizen, the second of the Pepsi Plastics factory racing Husqvarnas. And then the MCA whole shot Husqvarna of Rob Garvey stays in the mix. It looks like Swanepoel has played his card to stay in the hunt. So Swanepoel stays in the game for now. Off the gate, and it's starting to get real. Billy Bolt stays down the right-hand side and dances his way through. Walker was right down the middle there, trying to find his way out of the matrix and into clear air. And it's Walker that has gone complete broadside, and it's yard sale after that. This is going to be a runaway win for Billy Bolts. And once again, the Dreamers Yamaha of Brendan Smith alongside the big kid of William Oosthuizen have checked out off the front. And that is all due to Luke Walker getting completely jammed up at the halfway marker of the motor logjam. Billy up and into Dunlop Tire Torture, and he's going to go onto the Sun International gangplanks. After that, it's going to be chased down the roof section, and it is a show when you watch Billy Bolt bounce on his back wheel the whole way down there. You guys are on the sideline. Go and check it out. It is absolutely fantastic. After that, it's going to be through and head up onto the Viva Scaffolding launch pad, drop down into the Yamaha Riverbed, or Riverbed Rodeo as we've been calling it. That's where Billy is heading right now. And then it is a climb up to Mastermania. That climb is getting chewed up. It got ripped up yesterday, and the track builders did a great job to just clean that thing up so it actually had some kind of grip. We've still got plenty of racing to go, and the track is just turning to absolute talcum powder as Billy Bolt is going to head down and take a nice heat win to get himself ready to move forward with the rest of the day's racing. So the Rockstar Factory Husqvarna Superstar gets the job done and sees the checkers. He'll have a nice time to rest before we clear the course. Scotty B still doing a good job. Flanny's going to be in a qualifying spot at the moment. We have to see and hold our breath, see who will be our last riders to come up and over Mastermania, Downhill Mania, and skip their way across Skip and Go, our final obstacle on the course. Still a ton of pros coming out of the valley. Rob Garvey's going to come out. Stefan van Deventer and Swanepoel are the guys on the danger zones. But Garvey is going to, as long as he gets a good run down the hill here, should be able to stay on point. But we're also going to be heading towards the fact that we will say goodbye to some really key players. And it looked like Swanepoel and Greeny may have gone elbow to elbow on that one. We'll wait for a call and see who is out. Confirmation of Brett out of this one. We'll see if anyone joins him on the sidelines. So Brett Swanepoel joins Heinrich Aust, Rainer Kritzinger, Sharon Moore, Troy Sullivan, and Vinny Laviskakny out as we continue our brutal trim back on the pro gate to find our final 8. Some of the highlights so far of our pro gates. So starting with our over 20 pros, Billy Bolt finally making the gate, and it's great to see that he got the job done. Second place was Luke Walker, and he just got spun up in the matrix and couldn't get out of there. That caused a lot of riders some big problems, and it caused a big gap off the front of the race. Coming out of the Yamaha Riverbed, Billy was able to look over his shoulder and see where the closest competitors were. The answer was they were nowhere. He had around about a 10-second lead as he started to put on a show and show his bike handling skills over the skip and goes. We get ourselves ready for the next trim back, and the luck of the draw is definitely on the side of the Drummers Yamaha Pro as Brendan Smith takes up clear air once again. Warwick Neve joins him. Billy Bolt's on the front row. Looks like another one of the factory Husky Pepsim boys is there. Matty Green sees clear air for the first time today. Luke Walker's going to be on row number 2. Dwayne O'Clainum's row number 2, as well as Stefan Van Deventer and his MCA stablemates, Rob Garvey and the big kid. So the back of the pack is our fastest qualifiers, Scott Burberry and Carl Flanagan. They've got a lot of traffic to get through to figure this one out. Remember, we're trimming down until we get our final 8. Brendan Smith on the outside. Let's see if he's got that sweet line working for him. He's had a good run on there so far. Little bit crossed up this time, but still enough to keep that front wheel high. Warwick Neve is going to join him, and they're jammed up on the left-hand side. Greeny has got through nice. Flanny has also made way, and Burberry is literally at the back of the pack trying to see which is the best lane, left or right. So Billy Bolt out front, Greeny running with him. Then Brandon Smith looked like he had it fixed, and he's now going to be in a bit of a qualifying battle. Garvey comes out, Burberry comes out onto Piping Hot, joined by the big kid William Erstays. Warwick Neve has lost out, so the back of the pack is going to be Warwick Neve, Smitty, Kleinam's also in a bit of a danger zone, so he's going to have to fight super hard to get himself back up into the mix. Garvey making an unforced error there as he heads into Dunlop tire torture, followed by Warwick Neve. Kleinam's at the back there. Big surprise package to see Kleinam stuck at the back with Stefan Van Deventer and Walker. Those are the guys fighting to survive as Flanny now gets his pace going, gets onto the back wheel of Billy Bolt, and he's going to try and apply some pressure just to let the champ know that he's there. So Bully up and over, Flanny safe as houses. They're going to get a nice respite before we go into the nail biters, because we are closing in rapidly on getting ourselves down to the Magic 8. Dust Bowl racing at the bottom of the hill there in the valley that is the Yamaha Riverbed Rodeo. Amazingly enough, Scott Burberry managed to find a way through all that traffic. At one point, he was dead last, and he's made his way inside the top 5 ahead of Garvey. Warwick Neves in a qualifying spot. Looks like Stefan Van Deventer will make it through, and the last 2 riders down the hill are Walker and Kleinams. Oh, it looks like Brendan Smith just in the background there as well. So Kleinams may just live on. Depends if they're going to trim back 2 or 1. The final rider comes on through, and that is the Drummers Yamaha, Brendan Smith, making it pretty far this time around, though. But confirmation, Brendan Smith has gone as far as he will go today, and he's out of the game. But a great showing, and one of the best lineups we've seen out of Brendan Smith this time around at the second running of ICE 2019. So Brendan Smith, Brett Swanepoel, Heinrich Aust, Rainer Kritzinger, Sharon Moore, Troy Sullivan, and Vincent Labuskakny are out and will take no more part in this event. Some of the highlights we're going through on our live feed here as we see Brendan Smith get the whole shot but get crossed up on the second half of the motor logjam into the matrix. Warwick Neve just got jammed up there. Billy Bolt actually went dead center up and over the big roller, and that's what allowed him to get clear air. Matty Green was on the outside, and Flanny managed to get himself into a position to get up there. Flanny made the pass on Matty Green around about the halfway marker of the lap, and then started to apply pressure to the back wheel of Billy Bolt, just to let Billy know exactly who's there and able to run his pace on his wheel. Some course adjustments. Looks like we're just making sure the motor logjam is running good. Not surprised, it's taken a hell of a beating over the course of this weekend. And the draws look like this. Walker is going to see clear air alongside Warwick Neve. Matty Green will see clear air once again. It looks like the big kid is going to line up. So two Pepsi Plastic Factory Husqvarnas side by side. William Oosthuizen alongside Matty Green. Warwick Neve straight bang in the middle. Luke Walker on the right hand side. And Billy all the way down the tapes. That is our 5 riders on the front row. 6 and heading up row number 2 is going to be Carl Flanagan alongside Stefan van Deventer on the MCA whole shot Husqvarna squad. Alongside him his teammate Rob Garvey, and at the back is going to be Scotty B, Scott Burberry. Things are starting to get a little bit desperate here. Not too many places left in the show. Remember, we're trimming back to 8. The Walker goes straight down the middle. Oosthuizen leans on him as well, and a man that leans on him, should I say, if William Oosthuizen leans on you, you know about it. Oosthuizen's done a good job to get into that middle ground. Warwick Neve also gets through. Brandon Smith much better this time out. But again, it's Billy Bolt that is coming out on top, coming out of the motor logjam. Flanny on his wheel. Greeny followed by Oosthuizen, jammed up this time. Unfortunately, some big key players, Rob Garvey, Scott Burberry, and it looked like Stefan van Deventer crossed up in the logjam, and they're going to be fighting for their qualifying spots. So Warwick Neve is living good numbers here as well. Remember, he was a rider that was originally touted to go forward into the support class. He actually qualified fast enough to go pro gate, and he has almost made it inside of the top 8 qualies. Once again, as we have seen the previous round, it's like we are on repeat here. Billy Bolt drops down into the Yamaha Riverbed Rodeo with Carl Flanagan out of the proudly Bidvest Yamaha squad right on his wheel and keeping the pressure on. Pros, you'll see them roll off half throttle into the last couple of sectors if they know they're in a qualifying spot. They just let it loose. So another heat win for Billy Bolt, another second place for Flanny. Matty Green is going to record a super 3rd place, and Matty Green is getting faster as the heats go on. Oosthuizen is in a 4th place qualifier. Warwick Neve in 5th. Walker in 5th place. Brandon Smith in 6th. So they're all through. They're clean. They're safe. But it's up to the rest of the guys to see if they're going to survive on. Scotty B, Scott Burberry of the Brother Factory Leader Tread squad is going to be heading on down the hill, but it looks like we're going to be losing out on some other key players at this stage of the game. All of them are top riders, and it's tough to start trimming from the back. Rob Garvey looks like he's going to be clear, and Stefan van Deventer looks like he may be one of the losers at this round. Van Deventer just not able to stay online up onto Mastermania, and Van Deventer knows his day is done.
Should we go over there?
Well, the rider's just taking a little bit of a breather. They look over the shoulder. It looks like Van Deventer is out as we roll on forward to tick one more off. All right, so another one of our key riders, Stefan van Deventer, loses out. He joins Brendan Smith, Brett Swanepoel, Heinrich Aust, Rainer Kritzinger, Charon Moore, Troy Sullivan, and Vincent Labuskakny on the sidelines, as we have trimmed almost half of the pro gates out. So start shoot once again. We are heading down. It's clear air one more time. Gate pick went to Luke Walker. He's positioned himself right in the middle once again. Again, it's clear air for Matty Green and William Oosthuizen as they join what looks like Billy Bolt on the front row. Brandon Smith, Rob Garvey, Flanagan, Warwick Neve make up the rest of the chase, as it looks like we are down to our final trim back. So 9 riders on the track right now, and only 8 can make it forward. So this is the final trim back before we find our magical 8 going in. Luke Walker finally getting the run that he wanted. Again, it's clear air for Billy Bolt running the numbers out front. Walker in 2nd place, Flanagan in 3rd. Greeny is going to run at number 4. That keeps him in a qualifying spot. Remember, 9 riders on the gate this time. 8 will qualify through. Apologies, I just need to do a little bit of housekeeping here. So a call out for our support riders to come and line up our top 10 qualifying support riders. You are called to the gate as this is our final trim back for our pros. Oh, a bit of a heartbreaker there. It looked like Rob Garvey just making a crucial mistake at a rough time. No problems out front though. Billy Bolt, for the last 4 rounds or so, he has seen clear air and ran out front. He's often had Flanny on his back wheel, but Flanny couldn't quite get the gate that he wanted. So Billy's going to have a runaway this time around and be the first rider to confirm himself making it through inside of the top 8. Yeah, no one even at the top of Master Mania yet. So Billy Bolt confirms the first of our top 8 qualifying through. I think Warwick Neve might just squeak his way in here as well. Greenie's down the hill. Warwick Neve heads on down the hill. Or is this our final finisher? I know things were pretty tight on the lineup that time around. When he lines up in the queue, we'll see. No, Brendan Smith got jammed up down there as well as Garvey. So Warwick Neve is going to make his way through. The big kid comes down. Scotty B's in the mix. Brendan Smith is going to make it through into the final 8. Garvey. And there's our confirmation. Rob Garvey, 9th place finisher. Looks like he won't make it through to the rest of the show.
Then we can sit down and just watch. This is now a break. It's a different round. Shower and
Oh, no elimination yet, so we're waiting for a call on that one. Right, a call out once again to our top 10 support riders to make themselves available at the start chute as we just confirm who our final trim back was. So just for the sake of live stream here, some commentary on the highlights from the previous event. So 9 riders taking up the queue. Billy Bolt once again, doesn't seem to matter where he goes, he seems to find the sweet spot through the motor logjam. Like William Oosthuizen had a good run but got jammed up early on. Luke Walker had one of his best runs through, got himself up into an early 2nd place to find his safe zone. No one was going to be catching Billy Bolt though. All the rest of the riders were biting their fingernails as the last trim back was about to come into the situation. So Billy confirmed as the top qualifier. He finds his seat inside the top 8 when we go back for the trim back. We've got a catch up now with Scotty B on the line.
Hi, I'm here with Scott Bovary. Scott Bovary, winner yesterday, fastest guy on the track today. Scott, brother KTM, I mean, how do you beat a man like Billy Bolt?
Oh, look, he's got a lot of experience and he's riding really well, so you never know at us, though, with the starting orders and the things that can happen. It's a bit of a gamble, so, yeah, we'll see what happens.
So, I mean, how do you prepare yourself now for the last 8? I mean, that's tricky. I mean, I suppose starting order, once we get down to 6, you're guaranteed front row. Which obstacle is really challenging you at the moment?
I think straight off the start is the hardest part of the track when Oaks get into the logs there. They come in a bit hot and then everyone seems to pile up, so if you can get out there clean, I think it's good.
Scotty, thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
All right, thanks for that. It's good to catch up with Scotty B, our fastest qualifier from yesterday. And we do catch our breath now. So we found our top riders to go through out of the pro gate. We now get ourselves ready and into the trim back. This is going to be the lineup now. We're going to have our top 10 support class riders. These are the guys that did a ton of work in the early morning session. All these riders by this stage have done an incredible job to make it into the lineup queue. Jared Spalding, Big D Gray, Titus Iverson, Matthew Wagner, Jean-Dre Radin, Mikey Swan, Francois Deploy, Janelle de Villiers and Adam Back take up the gate. But we're going to be brutal as we trim back and try and find our last man standing situation. Going to go all the way down until we get our final 3, and our final 3 will chase the cheese to see who can be a brand new champion. So for the sake of live stream, a couple of highlights coming at you. So our pro gates gave us some of the best riders in the country and some would say in the world. Carl Flanagan, William Oosthuizen, Kleinams, a couple of riders, like I said, coming in late in the event. Kleinams, Matty Green, Billy Bolt, And Sharon Moore just turning 1 or 2 laps this morning. In fact, it looked like Matty Green's only laps were in gate number 1, so he's done a great job to keep himself in the mix. Billy Bolt was the standout rider, taking more wins than any of the other pros on the gate, and confirms himself as the favourite going forward into the squeeze back for the top 8 that will go down to 3, and then obviously down to 1 as the last man standing. Billy's lines through the motor logjam and into the matrix, different to anyone else. The one rider who was able to go over the middle ground and go over the small piece of concrete that sets up the absolute sweet spot. That means you don't have to go into the second half of the affair. On the numbers, looks like Kyle Flanagan was our second fastest and second most consistent rider, and I think at the moment looks like Billy Bolt's biggest threat. Some of the riders that started to come good though late on in the day and late on in the qualifying runs were Luke Walker. Walker was nice and physical where he had to be and found some good lines, and it definitely was a case of the motor logjam that started to set up who would be going forward, who would be qualifying, and who could run the fastest pace. Some surprise packages that stayed in the mix longer than expected. Warwick Neve, one of our shining stars, who did a great job to qualify out of support into the pros, made his way through and stayed inside the top 10. One of the riders dropping out early on, though, was a bit of a heartbreaker for Heinrich Aust. But the big story is the fact that Billy can breathe, can ride, can race, and has qualified inside the top 8. Getting ourselves ready now to go forward into our support category with the riders who have, by this stage, already raced around about 10 times to get themselves into the position that they're at. So this is support class round number 2 as we trim these guys all the way down. We're going to be racing until we have 1 man standing. Sorry, should we say the top 3? And that's going to be our main event before we go forward into the closeout for the rest of the day. Confirmation of Brendan Smith getting trimmed out of the final pro category lineup. The reason for that was missing out on one of the obstacles. So unfortunately the Cinderella story for Brendan Smith on the Droomers Yamaha is over, and we have confirmed our gate. So everyone's lined up on the line here for our support class. Janelle de Villiers, Airhard, Airtime, Bierkus. Deploy is up there as well. It looks like a great first draw for Jazz Spalding as well, as he's going to see clear air. And we're going to see if Titus Iverson, our reigning junior champion for the previous round down in Port Elizabeth, unfortunately had to settle for 4th place on the junior run this time, can make amends and get himself up into podium contention. Watch out for Big D Gray, the diesel engine. He just gets faster as the day gets longer, and also one of the most aggressive riders out there in the queue and impressing a lot of people, Mikey Swan. He's all in the Acherbis kit at the back of the pack on the Yamaha, and he'll throw big elbows to try and charge his way through to stay in the fight. All right, under starters orders, we're about to start trimming to see who stays and who goes. Airtime launches his way in, trying to find a good line into the logjam. Blew his feet off the pegs there, and that cost him a lot of time. Janelle de Villiers trying to find his way through. Jandre Radin smashes his way through. Nice and aggressive for him. And Jazz Spalding. So Spalding comes out, Deploy comes out, D. Gray comes out. The rest of the riders, including Iverson, jammed up and crossed up. Adam Back also couldn't make his way cleanly through the motor logjam, so he's going to have to do the big chase back. So crossed up is Airtime, Swanee, and Iverson. They're going to be doing the chase down to see if they can stay in the game. Jay Spalding doing a great job at the moment. Deploy is up there, Wagner's up there. So we expect to see some nice cool heads, but it's going to be a big fight for those last 3 riders that got choked up and jammed up to try and stay in the game. Iverson looks like the final rider to finally get his way out of the motor logjam. Bierkus is going to be fighting on to just try and survive this one. He was one of the pre-race favorites in the support class, but after a year off racing, unfortunately it's starting to show. And one of the most stylish riders, that's why it's called Airtime when we go enduro cross racing, is going to be trying to fight to survive this one. So Jandre Radin drops down into Yamaha Riverbed Radio. Janelle de Villiers joins him. More problems for Titus Iverson as he just cannot get any luck. Looks like the Dunlop tire torture has caught into his back tire. And he may be saying goodbye early on as we close in on the finish of our first trim back heat. Raiden's done a nice job there. De Villiers is going to roll down the hill in a qualifying spot. Adam Back stayed calm. He's going to qualify through as well as Jazz Spalding. And it looks like Swanee's done a nice enough job to remain in the mix as well. D. Gray climbs up the hill. He's got past Deploy. But this is the luckless, we've got some shots here live stream by the way. The luckless Titus Iverson just jammed up in the Dunlop tire torture. Hence the name. It is absolute nightmare out there. So Wagner looks like he may have just made the gate, but Iverson is definitely going to be our last rider to come down the queue. So there's confirmation of our last rider on the track. Iverson just about to splash his way through into the Yamaha Riverbed Rodeo, and he is confirmed as our final finisher. So unfortunately for Iverson, the reigning junior champion from the PE round of ice, he is going to be out of ice round number 2 for the juniors and the support category. So let's send him off in style, ladies and gentlemen. Titus Iverson out of the show. He's going to be on the sidelines from here on in. The rest of the riders have taken their gate pick and will start moving through into the queue to get it all done once again. So the first rider eliminated out of round 2 for support class, Titus Iverson. But a star for the future, so we'll see his name once again, don't worry. So quick highlight of the first knockout round. Airtime launched his way in, but unfortunately got crossed up early on in the matrix. Janelle de Villiers just danced around the outside of all the trouble. He came out smelling of roses. The rest of the riders clearly just taking it nice and calm. Very impressive ride from Adam Back, even though he was crossed up almost in last place. He got himself up into a position to go racing. Into the race then. Sorry to cut the highlight short there, but into the race for round 2 of the knockouts. And it looks like Wagner's seeing clear air. Airtime's got a good run going. Back is going to survive out inside the top 3. Deploy comes through. D. Gray and Jazz Spalding got hooked up badly there. They're going to have to do a big fight back. Deploy comes out. Janelle de Villiers was one of the key riders that may have to do a big fight now. Airtime makes up for his mistakes in the first knockout round. He's sitting in a nice comfortable number 2 spot right now with Adam Back on his wheel as they head into Dunlop tire torture. De Villiers has made a mistake just coming off the drop down into the red cherry free fall. D. Gray has got a chance to make a pass there as one of the riders goes down in front of him. And that was Jandre Raiden. Raiden coming off a podium at the previous round of ice as well down in PE. So he's going to have to do the big fight back as Wagner drops off. That's the Viva scaffolding launch pad, goes down the hill into the Yamaha Riverbed Rodeo. And he's about to stare down the barrel of his first heat win in the qualifier rounds with Airtime Vehicles for company on his back wheel, followed by Adam Back and looks like Swan. So Swan, again, has been a bit of a standout revelation all the way through these categories. Very aggressive racer, Mikey Swan. And I think a rider that I would like on my elbow if it came down to the main events. So Wagner gets his seat at the table. Airtime's in the mix as well. He's comfortable. Adam Back is going to come through. Swanee. And also Janelle de Villiers, comfortable. Knows exactly where the sweet spot is in the motor logjam to keep on trucking and keep on going forward. D. Gray, unfortunately, jammed up, trying to make his way out of the Dunlop tire torture and the balance beams. Deploy is going to come through alongside Jazz Spalding. So Jared's coming to life as we start to close in on our final 5. Our support class riders taking the time needed there just to catch their breath before they move forward into the next set of qualifying heats. D. Gray is going to try and survive on. He's got Jandre Raiden on his back wheel. So this is for the final qualifying spots by the looks of things to stay in the game. Oh, Raiden just makes a mistake there. So that little wooden bridge at the bottom of the hill in the Yamaha Riverbed, as you make the turn to cross back over, starting to get a little bit moist and lose its traction. So D. Gray crosses up and over. Hopefully he can find his seat at the table. Jandre Raiden looks to be our final rider, about to climb up to Mask Mania. And he's going to get some bad news when he descends the bottom of the hill. He'll already know that his day is done. So Jandre Radin, confirmation, he is out of this one. Everyone else still stays in the game. So Titus Iverson confirmed as our first rider to go to the cheap seats. Jandre Radin now joins him, hopefully with a beer in hand as we start to get ourselves ready. We're going to be trimming back and losing riders from the back of the pack until we find our magical 3. Straight after that, we go into our pros, because we've got our top 8 pros. I'm going to be trimming back after that to find our top 3 pros. So it's getting nice and tight at the top as we continue our onslaught and trim from the back of the pack. All the riders are desperate now to stay inside of the top 3 to guarantee the fact that they can stay in the game. So clear air now. D. Gray takes up the front row alongside Deploy, Airtime, Bierke. Swan is there, and it looks like another good gate pull here from, that is on the right-hand side there, Wagner. Wagner's in good shape. Oh, yard sale. Spalding getting crossed up big time there in the logjam. He is going to be able to just muscle his way out. He's been working on his upper body strength, and that's going to help him out. He needs to stay inside of those qualifiers to keep on running. Adam Back, though, is untouchable on this heat. Quick look over the shoulder. Keep the focus going forwards, though. Adam is in good shape, and again, along with Spalding, he's been getting faster as the days got longer. It's Adam Back that leads ahead of Matty Wagner. Chanel de Villiers about to try and make a pass onto the balance beams. Spalding stays inside the top 4 with Swan on his back wheel. And just an announcement from our race organizers. We're going to keep this going all the way down to the wire. So we'll be trimming a rider from the back of the pack until we get our final 3. The final 3 will not get a rest. They'll go straight into the lineup queue, and we'll go racing to see who will be our new support class champion. So D. Gray getting crossed up there. Unfortunately, he's dropped down the red cherry free fall as the rest of the riders, the majority of riders now in the second half of the loop. Adam Back in stellar form as he eyes up one of his great wins. This is going to set him up real nice as we keep going forwards. So announcement to the riders and to the sports crew for our support class riders. We are going to trim, and then we'll line up our top 3 and continue to go racing. Oh, check out the hole that Matty Wagner has dug at the top of the hill there. Just got himself completely chopped up there. Ran out of gas momentum and ran out of forwards pace. And that may be costing him as well. He's trying desperately to live on and stay ahead of Airtime, Bierkus and D. Gray, who have just made the pass. Looks like Airtime's going to survive on here, as Wagner has dug a rut round about knee deep at the top of the hill there. But it looks like he's going to just have enough to stay ahead of the rest of the riders. Deploy comes into view there, and it looks like Deploy and D. Gray will be biting their fingernails to see who will be our last trim back there. So D. Gray up and over the hill. He was a podium finisher at the previous round down at PE. He has fought hard, tooth and nail to stay in the game, but make some noise for Big D. Darren Gray is out of ice. He almost made it inside the top 5. So Deploy was the final survivor there. D. Gray is job done. So once again, it is Titus Iverson who is our first trim back. Jandre Radin lost the gate, and in the third heat, Darren Gray is out as we start to get ourselves ready. Remember, we're going to keep our support class going the whole way through until we find our top 3. Once we've got our top 3, they'll take up the gate, and it'll be a one-lap sprint to see who will be crowned champion. Swan sees clear air alongside Jazz Spalding and Deploy. Airtime Vierkus also takes up to see clear air. It's going to be Janil de Villiers just behind him and Adam back. So we are getting dangerously close to the trim down. 3 more elimination heats before we find our top 3 to go into the main. Revs are up. Here we go. Airtime once again favoring the right-hand side, but it's been the entry to the logjam that's been his problem. Janil de Villiers got a good run there. He really has his line dialed in, as does Jazz Spalding. Spalding's going to run away with this one. He is off the front and gone. Deploy has one of his best runs through the motor logjam. He's going to pop out in second place. We'll have to see who's going to pick up the rest of the pieces. Remember, we've got 3 more trim backs to go until we find our final 3. Airtime is up and out. Swan has just popped out. It's Wagner this time around. The previous round runner that had some good numbers. He got jammed up at the top of the hill though, remember, and I think it just cost him too much energy, not enough time to recover. Adam Back also having his problems out there on the loop, just dropping off into the red cherry free fall and getting crossed up, but he's still in a qualifying position. Wagner on the RBS Yamaha looks like he is out of this one. Still stuck in the logjam and just absolutely exhausted after his problems at the previous lap at the top of Master Mania where he dug that big hole. Swan, even though he's not happy to be running where he is, looks like he's still going to qualify. Janil de Villiers, nice and comfortable. Good to see some nice solid riding coming out of de Villiers. He wasn't happy with his run time, getting kicked out of pros into support. But the way he's been racing is setting himself up nicely to go forward into the final 3 for now. He leads a freight train out of the Yamaha Riverbed Rodeo. He's got Spalding on his wheel, Airtime and Deploy. So Deploy just couldn't hold it together. He's had a lot of passes put on him at the halfway marker of the lap. So de Villiers comes down the hill, Spalding on his wheel, Airtime is going to come through as well. That's your 1, 2s and 3s for now. They'll be hoping they can live on and survive. Deploy's coming down the hill, Adam back on his wheel, followed by Swan, and the final finisher is going to be Wagner. Unfortunately, I think it was the previous round and the energy loss at the top of the hill where he's digging the trenches cost him all of that drive. So all the riders now in the holding pen have made it through into the next round, and just dropping off at the halfway marker of the lap, Wagner is going to be out of this one. It's going to be a glory run for the second half of this lap for the RBS Yamaha rider. So let's give a big round of applause and a nice cheerio to Wagner. He's put on a show for us. He worked hard. I think just lost too much energy on the previous round. So Wagner is out on the RBS Yamaha. He's going to take a big breath and relax and recover. No recovery for us though as we carry on the trim back. 2 more trims until we find our final 3. So Titus Iverson, Jandre Raiden, Darren Gray, now joined by Matty Wagner. The riders on the sideline. Everyone else in it to win it and still playing the game. Swan still on the queue. Deploy is still there. An incredible ride so far to see Jazz Spalding on the queue, and he's going to see clear air. Adam Back is still in the mix as well in 4th place alongside Airtime Vierkus, and an incredible ride for Janil de Villiers. But remember, we're going to keep racing until we are down to our top 3. All right, Adam Back and Swanee, first guys to hit. Deploy, looks like his arms have given up the ghost. He just could not lift the front wheel into the first logs, and everyone has made a hash of it at the beginning of the logjam. Looks like Back may be the first rider to pop out, and he is. So Back comes through. Spalding desperate to just get a little bit of traction on the back wheel to power forwards. He's going to pop out and looks like around about 3rd or 4th place. Swan has done a good job to get himself into 2nd place. Airtime in 3rd place. Spalding in 4th, and we are starting to get desperate here. 5 riders on track, and we are starting to trim back hard and fast. Remember, we're going to keep these guys racing until we have our final 3, and then the 3 go into 1 more lap to get the job done. So danger seats at the moment for Deploy and de Villiers. They're the last riders to bounce their way into the Dunlop Tire Torture. De Villiers has been very strong on the gangplanks, but it looks like he's just jammed up on the tires a little bit, trying to find his momentum. Back is good, though, along with Swan. They are out front and they lead as they drop down into the aptly named Yamaha Riverbed Rodeo. 2 Yamahas leading 1 and 2 at the moment to make their way through into the next heat. So Back loves this racing format. If he can find a track where he can find his flow, he is going to be a big threat. So Adam Back continues his form, stays inside a qualifier. He's got 2 more rounds and he will make it into the top 3 and the main event. De Villiers and Deploy is what we're watching out for at the back here. Deploy is going to come into the skip and go section with De Villiers desperate to make a move. Deploy comes over and it is goodbye Vienna. Looks like Janil De Villiers is out as the rest of the riders make their way forward. So cheers to De Villiers, a great ride so far, just not fast enough to make the cut inside the top 4. So Janil De Villiers joins Matty Wagner, Darren Gray, Jeandre Radin and Titus Iverson on the sideline as we keep on playing forwards. Riders are absolutely hanging at this stage of the game, but we've still got 1 more trim back to go to see who will make it into the top 3. A brutal race format this as well, where the riders pretty much get no recovery time before they have to go back up into full revs and get on the gas. So for the first time in the support category, all riders will be on 1 row, elbows up racing. And it's going to have to be whoever pops out with the sweetest run out of the motor logjam that's going to be going forwards. So Swan, Francois Deploy, Airtime Bierkus, Adam Back and Jazz Spalding. 2 more trim backs and we find our top 3. Oh, Back is really good in the logs now. Seems to be really finding that sweet spot on the left-hand side of the gate. Little hook up this time, finds a bit of a hollow, so he's going to have to work hard. The good thing about Back that I've been watching, though, he doesn't tend to panic, and it's the first time that Erhard Bierkus drops off the pipes, but still managed to stay inside the track. So Bierkus is leading on the course at the moment as we go back, and it's Adam Back and Jazz Spalding that are crossed up in the logjam. So Airtime gently and very positive in all of his movements. He's out of the balance beams brought to you by Sun International, and he's leaving the rest of the riders to figure things out. On screen, but you guys can't see it out there, but just coming into the Dunlop Tire Torture, Adam Back leads ahead of Jazz Spalding, and that is for a qualifying spot. Airtime looks like he may be able to go all the way to the main event. He's going to be super tired, but riders will find a little bit of extra energy out of thin air. Airtime, as we call him, Erhard Bierkus, comes up and out. He's going to be climbing the Mast Mania, and he's going to take a very important win to remain inside the top 4 with 1 race to go to make it into the top 3. So Erhard, Airtime Bierkus takes up the gates. He gets a nice recovery time. Swan is going to be on his wheel as well, so he's been keeping him very honest the whole way through the day as Mikey Swan. As Deploy makes a bit of a mess of the climb and allows Adam Back to close in on his back wheel. So Francois Deploy looking super tired at this stage of the game. Adam Back comes up and over onto the skip and go section, and he's going to be clean. And unfortunately, it's going to be the end of the day for Jazz Spalding as he finds that big rut, courtesy of Wagner. And there is just 0 grip and 0 hookup at the top of that hill. He's going to have to pick that thing up. But that is Jazz out of the show. All right, so coming down the hill, he's done a hell of a ride. He's had one of his best rides and best shows here at Ice Roundup 2. So make some noise for Jazz Spalding as he steps out and leaves the rest of the guys to carry on forwards. So Jared Spalding, he joins Janelle de Villiers, Matt Wagner, Darren Gray, Jean-Andre Radin, and Titus Iverson in the cheap seats as we continue our trim back. We started our category this morning with our support class with over 30 riders. We trimmed it down to the top 10. The top 10 has now become the top 4. One man is going to lose out on this gate and not stand a chance to go forward into the 3-rider main event. Who will it be? We've got Mikey Swan, Francois Deploy, Airtime Bierkus, and Adam Back on the gate. All up, no one stalled out just yet. Adam Back once again bouncing his bike up and over. Airtime comes out, Adam Back on his wheel. So Airtime and Back are out of the motor logjam, clean and clear. So as long as they can keep that momentum going forward without mistakes, they will find the main event. It's Michael Swan that is jammed up in the logs. Deploy, amazingly, has made it out there. Even though he looks absolutely exhausted, Deploy is still in a qualifying spot at the moment. In 3rd place, it's Michael Swan, who unfortunately has run out of luck in the motor logjam. We have seen him fight back hard, but there is a long gap to close things down on the leading 3. And as our TV crew pan back here, Mikey Swan is still in the logjam. That is going to be his day over. So Airtime drops through. It is all done while the screaming at the moment. It looks like we found our final 3 to go forward into the main event. Mikey Swan, just by the reaction of the crowd in the sidelines there, as we go back and pick up on our live feed, Mikey Swan is up and rolling once again. But it's Airtime Bierkus who cements his name. He is going to be our first qualifier to make it into the top 3 and the big show. So Airtime finds his seat. He goes forward into the main event and stands a chance to chase down the big win. He's followed by Adam Back and Francois Deploy. That will be our top 3 going forward to see who of them will be crowned ICE champion in support class here at round 2 of ICE 2019 at Fast KTM. Commiserations for Michael Swan. He really has impressed me and a lot of other riders out there, but he is not going to take any more part in this race. Airtime Bierkus, Adam Back, and Francois Deploy will be our 3 riders to take up and chase down one more lap to see how high they can finish and if they can be the brand new support class ICE champions. All right, so make some noise for Michael Swan, 4th place, and our last trim back. He won't make it all the way, but he did a great job at his first time of racing in ice to get all the way to a number 4 finish. So all the riders losing out in the final trim back. First, we lost out on Titus Iverson. Jean-Andre Radin was out. Big D Gray, Mikey Wagner, Janelle de Villiers, Jared Spalding, and Michael Swan will take no more part in the event. Our 3-rider and 2-lap main event for our support class is going to be Erhard Airtime Bierkus, Adam Back, and Francois Deploy. 2 laps to go. So the riders on track right now, and they have been working super hard out there. Now they've got to do it twice in a row. Francois Deploy, Erhard Airtime Bierkus, and Adam Back. All of them making it into the top 3 for the first time at Racing of Ice. But this time around, it's going to be 2 laps to see who is decided as support class champions. By this stage, these guys have been out racing something like over 10 times out there in the heats, and they are absolutely exhausted. Airtime just trying his best just to muster some muscle to try and get out of the log jams. It's Adam Back that pops out first. Not too far off his wheel is Airtime, so there's still something in it. And Deploy on his wheel. So everyone is in the queue. Everyone is up and out of the log jam and into the next obstacle on the course. CDI Brokers Concrete Chaos fires the riders straight out into Compendium Piping Hot. Then you do a drop off into Red Cherry Freefall where the riders really take a hit as well. It hurts their arms just to try and control their bodies. Then they climb up the hill into Dunlop Tire Torture, and it is line astern with Back ahead of Airtime and Deploy 1, 2 and 3. But Back is starting to build up a bit of a buffer as he comes up and through out of the Sun International Gangplanks and through the Mix FM whoop-de-doos. He's going to be heading into the second half of the loop. One more drop off the Viva scaffolding launch pad and down into his namesake. He rides out of Yamaha Blue Crew Supports and he is into the Yamaha Riverbed Rodeo with just a few seconds to go until the end of lap number 1. He'll look over his shoulder as he crosses out of the final obstacle. One more descent, and it's going to be one more lap to go. He's going to have to take a bit of a breather, get himself ready for another challenge as he heads one more time into the motor log jam. So for our final, remember, we run a 2-lap racing format. Airtime's keeping him honest. There's around about a 6-second gap between first and second as our top 2 pros head out onto lap number 2. With Francois Deploy rolling across. He completes his first lap. Absolutely shattered. Adam Back comes through the log jam. Airtime one more time through the logs for him. He gets hooked up on the exact same log that he did on loop number 1. So Back is safe for now, but it's Airtime that's starting to look over his shoulder to see if he can hang on to the second place. The crowd is starting to get wild as well, so it sounds like Francois Deploy is starting to close things down on Airtime. But at the moment, it is all plain sailing for Adam Back, who's got one hand on the trophy at the halfway marker of lap number 2. Airtime pops out as well, so Airtime's starting to close things down and keeping Adam Back nice and honest. So this isn't over just yet. Back making a mistake there at the end of the Sun International Gangplanks. But it looks like Airtime may have run out of steam as well. He looks absolutely shattered. Francois Deploy is up and onto the piping hot section though as he drops down into the first quarter, but the crowd are getting wild and it sounds like there's a big chase on as our top 2 pros head on down into the second half section. Adam Back now closed in. Look at that, absolutely incredible. The gap has come down to around about a 1.5 seconds as they splash through the riverbed. Yamaha Riverbed Rodeo. Adam Back controlling a no more than 2-second lead as he climbs up to the mast one more time. Get ready, guys. Mast Mania, when you see that rider at the top, he's got 2 more obstacles to go. Adam Back flying down at the finish. He's just got to get up over skip and go and one more log, and he will be your brand new support class champion. Adam Back brings home the bacon, and he is more than pumped with that one. He needed that. That was an incredible ride. Airtime Bierkus kept him super honest the whole way through. But your brand new support class champion here at ICE, round number 2 at Fast KTM, is out of Yamaha Blue Crew. Adam Back brings the cheese here at ICE. Airtime in second place and Deploy just picking up the pieces, but he did a great job to arrive in third place. He's about to head down the hill. I'm going to catch up with our top 3 runners in the support class. How exhausted are these riders? They've given it absolutely everything. They've been racing back to back. That's like doing Supercross after Supercross, and 1, 2 and 3 are home. Francois Deploy, very impressive, bringing it home in a number 3 finish, but it's confirmed Adam Back as your new support class champion. Airtime Bierkus in second and Francois Deploy in third. We'll catch up with a couple of interviews down there, and then we'll go forward into our trim back for our pro lineup. Remember, we've got our top 8 pros in the queue. What a great journey then. So confirmation on our live stream and to you people out here hanging with us at Fast KTM for round 2 of ICE 2019. Adam Back is confirmed as your support class champion ahead of Airtime Bierkus and Francois Deploy. Congratulations to all those riders and all the support class riders that gave us the big show. We now get ourselves ready to go into the pro categories. We'll run the same format. We're going to start with 8. We'll trim it down to 3, and that will decide who will go forward and chase those final 2 laps and be crowned ICE Pro Champion at round 2.
Guys, I'm here with Adam back. He's just won the support class. Adam, an incredible effort. I mean, how did it go? I mean, you were hanging in all the time. Obstacles were fierce. Which was the toughest?
Yeah, I mean, the guys at ICE put on insane obstacles. Wasn't room for any mistakes. One mistake and you could find yourself in last just like that. And with this special format and being eliminated every lap, it made it very difficult. But, you know, the matrix, everyone found a bit of an issue, but I found a real great line towards the end now, and I stuck to it every lap. Kept me clean, get me through, and yeah, I just had to put it aside and push it through to the end.
And the last thing, really, Adam, did you believe you'd be here? You're a great MP, and now you've got a great ICE. Do you believe you could be the winner of ICE 2019 jersey?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'll definitely put in some effort, train some stuff like this, and maybe get a bit better. But yeah, all the guys are stepping up each week, so you never know.
Thanks, Adam. Well done, my boys. Cheers, guys.
Great result there once again, and a confirmation that Adam Back is your new support class champion. A breakout ride for Airtime Vehicles coming back from out in the wilderness, not riding for well over a year, and Francois Deploy, not his chosen format. He's a motocross boy, and he did a great job to get his way all the way through inside the top 3 and finish 3rd. Now we go into our pro gate, where we've got our top 8 riders into the queue. They're getting a bit revved up and ready there. So we've trimmed ourselves down to the top 8, and it is going to be interesting to see how the rest of the day runs, because now it is going to be brutal. Billy Bolt has taken more wins on the pro gate than any other rider. Rob Garvey getting buck wild as he goes and gets crossed up in the locks. Carl Flanagan, Warwick Neve, Matty Green and Oosthuizen pop out. And once again, it will be the same format as we've been running in the support category, where the pros are going to be trimmed from the back. But Billy Bolt is running the numbers. Carl Flanagan is matching him at the moment, but Flanny is going to have a very good run through the locks if he wants to go and chase down a win. Scott Burberry getting good numbers going. Wild run coming out of the concrete there for Luke Walker. Does not want to be in a trim back situation. Garvey is qualifying at the moment, and it's actually our fastest qualifier from yesterday, Scott Burberry, who is in a lockout situation and possibly going down to the cheap seats. He's going to have to make some passes if he wants to stay in this game. No problems for Billy Bolt, though, as he heads down into Yamaha Riverbed Rodeo. And just a sneaky, quick look over the shoulder just to see who's around and how far they are away. But so far, so good. Billy Bolt untouchable on the pro gate for now as he heads down and takes another heat win and a nice big relaxing time before he moves forward into the rest of the queue. So Billy moves forward and keeps on trucking. Danny has been second fastest so far through the day. A big fight back, nice aggressive moves for Luke Walker, gets him back into the mix. He made big passes there as well, and that was all in Dunlop Tire Torture and the Sun International gangplanks. Burberry looks like he has made his way through, so it's going to be Rob Garvey who's going to be our first trim back. He made it all the way to the top 8, and Rob Garvey of the MCA Holeshot Husqvarna squad, unfortunately, will be our first pro of the trim back to join the cheap seats and hang out with us on the sidelines. So great job, Rob Garvey. Your day is done. So as with our support categories, we started with 8, we moved forward into 7. Rob Garvey was our first trim back out of the MCA Holeshot Husqvarna squad, as our pros now take up the gate once again. It's tough to call this one, it really is. It basically depends on who gets through the motor log jam the best and smoothest without any mistakes. The money at the moment is on Billy Bolt. He has had a clean run through. If Flanny can have a clean run through the motor logjam, he's got the rest of the track dialed in. He can run the numbers. So we've got Greenie, Billy Bolt. All the rest of the riders now starting to figure things out. William Oosthuizen does a nice big cut back across the lines of a couple of riders. Warwick Neve Looks like he's getting squeezed out of this one. Billy Bolt gets jammed up a little bit there, and as I called it, Flanny has popped out on top this time, so he's going to try and run the numbers and break away from Billy Bolt. It'll be interesting as a gauge to see if Billy is able to close back on the lead of the top Yamaha rider. Flanny riding a little bit aggressive at the moment, making a couple of small mistakes, but the speed is 100% there, as it is Yamaha that leads out ahead of Husqvarna. At the back of the pack, though, the story is going to be who is going to be the last on the trim back. Elbows up and teammates banging bars as William Oosthuizen and Matty Green start getting wild, joining each other on the same bit of the dirt as they head into the Dunlop tire torture and gangplank sections. Scotty B is in the danger zone right now. Just cannot get the line through the motor logjam to be able to be in a position to run the numbers of the guys out front. Flanagan's done a great job here, though. He's proving that he's able to extend his lead once he hits clear air, and Flanny is going to take his win of the afternoon session to get a nice big run through and a confidence booster as well. He had a great line coming out of the logjam, and Flanny comes through. He's going to be first lineup, followed by Billy Bolt. Luke Walker again in a qualifying position, so he stayed out of trouble this time. He's going to find his seat. William Oosthuizen comes through. Matty Green looks like the last rider to come down the stripe is going to be our fastest qualifier from yesterday, Scott Burberry. So it looks like we're going to be losing Scotty B before we go forward into the next of the trimbacks. Oh no, we've still got Warwick Neve out there as well. So Warwick unfortunately got boxed out. That bike is so bent as well. Warwick Neve, his bars are completely twisted up. So he got jammed up in the log jam and he's been trying to do the fight back. So Scotty B is going to be safe. Warwick Neve with an extremely bent bike is going to be saying goodbye Vienna and no more. Great job Warwick Neve, one of our riders that moved up out of support class into the pro gate for today. And he has made it inside of the top 6, but that's as far as he's gone. So riders eliminated so far. Round number 1 of the trimbacks out and left us with 7 riders. We now have 6 with the loss of Warwick Neve. So Scotty B, Matty Green, Luke Walker, Carl Flanagan and Billy Bolt take up the front row. The 6th rider is Big William Oosthuizen as we're going to keep on trimming back. Oh man, crossed up there. That looked like it was Walker. He just got tangled with bars and 2 riders just collected each other down at the back. No problems for Flanny. A nice move there for Billy Bolt as he starts to get it up on the back wheel. And once again, it is Flanny and Bolt that are running the numbers out front. They're definitely setting themselves up as the key riders to move forward into the top 3. Greenies come good. Scotty B there as well. So the riders that got jammed up will just have to keep an eye on Luke Walker and see if there has been any kind of recovery from the riders that locked horns coming off the start chute and into the logjam. It looks like Flanny had some problems in the tires there. Walker's on the comeback trail, but he is in the danger zone. But yeah, it was problems just on the entry to the Dunlop tire torture. Carl Flanagan lost his momentum, got hooked up, and Billy just sailed on by. You can see from the riding style of Billy is just up on the pegs, just trying to dance the bike and remain nice and butter smooth. He won the first eliminator. He got 2nd in the 2nd eliminator. He's now moving forward with another win. Just checking his right boot there as well, so there may be a problem with his back brake. You'll just check out what the bike is looking like when he comes down to the finish chute. Flanny confirmed as 2nd place. Scott Burberry has reacted nicely. He's now up into 3rd on the qualifiers, ahead of William Oosthuizen and Matty Green. And it's going to be Walker, unfortunately, that is going to say, well, he tried to double up and he went casing straight into the log. He hasn't hurt himself, but I think he's just absolutely frustrated that he couldn't make it any further forward in the event. Let's give it up for Walker, though. He gave it a good push and a good try. That's going to be Walker done. Garvey was first out, then Warwick Neve, now Luke Walker. And we've seen Walker run some really good pace. He was not far off podiums last time around at the PE event. He can't go any further than we are right now. And we continue with our brutal trim back in our pro lineup. This is now going to be all pros on one stripe. Matty Green, Billy Bolt, William Oosthuizen, Scotty B. Burberry, and Carl Flanagan. All elbows up. We're down to one row now. And only 2 more trim backs until we find our final 3. Another good pull off the line for Flanny. He's finding a really good outside line there. Scotty B got crossed up. Oh, Billy Bolt on the back wheel, just dancing up. He really has got a deft touch on the bike there. So dances are up on the back wheel through the matrix. Flanny has the matching of him on speed though, and he's on his back wheel. But it looks like the skills are just there to pay the bills for Billy Bolt, and he is just rocking and rolling on the Rockstar Racing Factory Husqvarna, his way to another heat win and potentially an overall win here at ICE. And all that after coming back with massive case of bronchitis from yesterday. He was man down. Today he's taken the good stuff and he's come racing. So Scotty B now is in trouble at the back of the pack. He went over the bars big time into the matrix. It looks like he is going to try and pick up the pieces. He's going to have to get around a couple of tasty riders to stay in the game, but it's still all about Billy Bolt. He runs off the front and he is gone. 2 more trims until we find our final 3. No surprise to see in the number 2 spot it is Carl Flanagan, but another cruise victory coming in for Billy Bolt. He starts to get nice and comfortable with the track, and he is turning on the style. So Billy Bolt on the factory Rockstar Racing Husqvarna comes home. 2nd place goes to the proudly Bidvest Yamaha of Flanny. Matty Green, 3rd place for him, ahead of his teammate William Oosthuizen. But it's going to be Scotty B that says goodbye. Thanks, Scotty. Fastest qualifier from yesterday, and he is out. 5th place is the highest he can go. Our top 4, William Oosthuizen, Matty Green, Carl Flanagan, and Billy Bolt. So Scotty B joins Luke Walker, Warwick Neve, and Rob Garvey out of this one. What was 8 has become 4. We've got 1 more rider to dispatch before we go into our 3-rider main event final, which will once again be a 2-lap race affair. No rest for the pros. They are all in peak fitness. Well, apart from Billy Bolt, he's still sick as a dog, but he's still getting the job done. He's been basically on the right-hand side of the track the whole time. He now fades across to the left-hand side, which is where Flanny's been living and making some good going. Now Billy on the left-hand side. We'll see if he's got the dancing on the matrix. So we go left to right. Matty Green, William Oosthuizen, Flanny, and Bolt. 1 more rider to be trimmed out. Flanny fades across so he can get his line going, takes Billy all the way to the banners, and Flanny is trying to charge away and leave Billy to pick up the pieces. Billy is stuck now behind the back wheel of Oosthuizen. He makes it up there, so Bolt now into a 3rd place position. It's Flanny ahead of Greeny, Bolt in 3rd, and William Oosthuizen in a troubling position. Looks like Billy Bolt was trying to make the pass on Greeny, and he has. So off the drop-off there that took us down into the Red Cherry freefall. Flanny is on the numbers out front, but those little legs do cause him some issues when he drops down into the Dunlop Tire Torture, and Bolt is going to make the pass off the balance beams. So it was 2nd going into Dunlop Tire Torture. It's now 1st place as Bolt is going to try and check out. Dances his way through the Mix FM whoop-de-doos. He's going to jump onto the truck one more time down the riverbed. And Flanny knows what he's got to do. It's just 2nd place for now. As long as he stays inside the top 3, he will make the main event. But it looks like the pace across the board is all about Billy Bolt, just able to get the power down and break away from the rest of the riders. So it's going to be another heat win for Billy Bolt, but he had to work for it this time. He was jammed up in the logs. He's going to take his seat, confirmed as the 1st rider to go through into the final 3. This is the chase though. Matty Green trying to hang on ahead of his teammate William Oosthuizen for the final qualifying spot. The big kid cannot go any further. Your top three are confirmed. Billy Bolt, Carl Flanagan, and Matty Green will be your finalists. Fourth place is as high as the big kid can go. Great work for William Oosthuizen. He bows out with a solid number 4. So William Oosthuizen, our final loss. He's going to take a final number 4 placing. That's a great result for him. He joins Scotty Burberry, Luke Walker, Warwick Neve, and Rob Garvey on the sidelines. Our confirmed pro main event is going to be a 3-rider affair between international superstar on the Rockstar Factory Racing Husqvarna, Billy Bolt. It's going to be the local superstar on the proudly Bidvest Yamaha, Carl Flanagan, and the local Pepsi Plastics Factory Racing Husqvarna of Matty Green that go forward into the main event, a 2-lapper pro final. So straight into it, this is what it's all come down to. We have crowned our support class champion. This morning, we crowned our junior champions. Now we see who will be our ICE Pro champion here at round 2 of ICE at Fast KTM. It's go time for Billy Bolt, Matty Green, and Carl Flanagan. Hard on the gas for Billy Bolt as he fires his way into the matrix. Watch out for the lines as he puts it up on the back wheel. Can't get the drive he wants. Flanny pops out. That's going to be a big result for Flanny. He's now going to have to be pinpoint perfect and make no mistakes because he's been hunted down by Billy. Billy goes for the inside line and tries to make the pass. Gets the pass done going off the red cherry freefall. And it's up to Flanny now to try and do the big fight back. Greeny down in 3rd place. Couldn't get the gate that he wanted. Got chopped up. It's a 2-horse race out front with Greeny there to pick up the pieces if anything else goes wrong. Remember, our pros, like the support category, will do a 2-lap racing format, and all the crowd are chasing the leaders around. The Mix FM Whoop-De-Doos is a big show where we put Billy Bolt on the back wheel. He just dances his way across there. They drop off the Viva scaffolding launch pad into the Yamaha Riverbed Rodeo, and it is little bit starting to see a gap form as we come up to the Masked Mania. Flanny knows he's got one more lap to get the job done and make it count. The track is just barely holding together as our top 2 pros start their 2nd lap. Matty Green starting to make his way out to the end of lap number 1 as well. He's still got to get up to Masked Mania, but our pros are already smashing their way through the logjam. The motor logjam deciding so many of our races. It looks like Billy is gone now. So he managed to muscle his way through, and he has extended his gap across and ahead of Carl Flanagan. So Billy Bolt, the man that looked like at one point he wasn't going to be racing, has got the job done. He looks over his shoulder as he makes the turn into Dunlop Tire Torture, and he's just going to be pinpoint perfect now. Makes his way up just gently onto the balance beams. Flanny just coming up now to join him onto the Dunlop Tire Torture, but it looks like Billy is gone, launching his way through the Mix FM Whoop-De-Doos, and he is around about 45 seconds away from being crowned our brand new ICE champion here at round 2 at Fast KTM. So down the downhill, no mistakes. Across the river, no problem still. The Yamaha Riverbed, and it's going to be up the Masked Mania. So guys, head down to the finish line. This is going to be a big one. Up to the top of the hill, Masked Mania, and we're going to see a brand new ICE champion, Billy Bolt, with bronchitis, still fast enough to beat the very best. And your new ICE champion, Billy Bolt, takes the flag and the checkers with style. So Billy Bolt on the Factory Rockstar Husqvarna gets the job done. Flanny kept him nice and honest. A mistake into the second logs though cost him. And it's going to be Flanny that comes home with a rock and roll number 2 finish. Husky versus Yamaha. And the boys bring it home nice and clean. Greeny's not going to be too far behind. Rounding out a Husqvarna and Yamaha sandwich. Greeny coming on down the hill one more time. And he is almost home. right, so Greeny comes on home. Let's confirm Matty Green as third place finisher here in the pro category of ice. So what a story from a rider that wasn't even going to race. He got a terrible bout of bronchitis. Billy Bolt took the good stuff, as we say, and got himself out of bed to come racing. He did a great run. Carl Flanagan kept him extremely honest the whole way through the day, and it's Billy Bolt that takes the win ahead of Carl Flanagan, with Matty Green taking a third place finish. We're going to go down to the finish line now and catch up with a couple of reactions, but confirmation of the results. The factory superstar Billy Bolt taking the win ahead of Carl Flanagan, and Matty Green making his first podium and gets third. Down to the line for Mike and catch up with our podium places. First, Billy Bolt.
Hey guys, I'm standing here with Billy. It's incredible. I mean, this man was in hospital nearly yesterday morning, suffering from bronchitis. He made an incredible effort to come out here and show the South African boys how it's done. Billy, I mean, what do you think about the crowd and the Joburg support? Oh, we'll give him a chance. Doesn't sound good. Just Billy, clear your voice there, but okay. You can spew a bit. Should we try again?
Try again. Yeah, no, I can't complain. It's been an awesome event. Obviously, we're struggling yesterday. Didn't even think we'd be here spectating, but definitely got some good help yesterday. So I'm very appreciative to everyone that sort of helped us and sent us to the right places and got us mended. Woke up this morning feeling considerably better than yesterday morning, so I thought I'd come and see what we could do. Obviously, you guys have put a lot of effort into getting us out here, so I wanted to try and at least show myself. Just sort of took it how it come. Didn't want to do too much. Just sort of monitoring my heart rate all day and sort of seeing how I was feeling. But it went well.
And Billy, tell me, quite an unusual concept. Was this coming over the place? I mean, last man standing.
Yeah, definitely. It's new for me, but obviously, super enduro cross is my thing. It's what I enjoy the most, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to come out here and show what I could do. So yeah, pretty successful day. I'm very happy and appreciative to be a part of the event, and thank you guys for coming out.
And fantastic. But last thing quickly, I mean, you're a friend of South Africa. You've been here a few times before. You've ridden here before?
Yeah, a few times, obviously. Most of you know, I've got some pretty good connections here. Obviously, my girlfriend Roxy's from here, who spends most of her time over north of the world supporting me, so it's nice to come here and be able to have her family out and put on a show for them. All in all, despite starting off as a pretty diabolical weekend, it's ended quite nicely.
Fantastic, guys. Billy Bolt, incredible. Give him a round of applause, guys. Thanks, Billy.
Yeah, great job, Billy. Thanks to Mike for trying to get those words out of him. I know it's been a tough weekend. Here's some confirmation of how the event has been gone, though. The pro win going to Billy Bolt with an emphatic ride coming out of Carl Flanagan, and we know he's a bit of a specialist in this as well, so we expected nothing but the best coming out of Flanny. Third place and one of his best results at a Super Enduro event coming from Matty Green, getting himself all the way up into the number 3 spot. For our support class, a great ride, and a ride that he definitely wanted as well. He's trained for this, and he brought his A game. Adam Back taking the win in support ahead of Erhard Bierkes. Bierkes coming back from almost a year off the bike, so good to see him finding his skills as well. And then third place in support, one of our motocross guys that really found out how tough Super Enduro is, Francois Deploy, getting third place. The event has been absolutely smashing. We're going to be doing a nice big celebration shortly, so hopefully the guys out there on the ground will hang out with us, go grab a burger and a bite, but in the meantime we'll just allow our riders to catch their breath while we prepare for our podium celebrations. The day, though, and the whole weekend has been absolutely cool. For the guys out there watching and enjoying the live streaming, we hope you enjoyed it. There's going to be another round coming up in a couple of months' time, so watch out for social media. But for myself, Matt Smith, and everyone out here on the ground, great work. The track held together perfectly for all of our junior support and pro riders that joined us for round number 2. And of course, for Fast KTM for hosting us here at this incredible second round of 3 for 2019. It's been a great journey, and here's some of the highlights that went down over the race weekend.